Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Henny Saif, and we begin this afternoon's bulletin with the latest developments from Cyprus, where diplomatic efforts and regional partnerships are taking center stage. Cyprus police have finalized a three-year strategic plan for 2026 to 2028, focusing on counter-terrorism and border management among key priorities. The plan outlines 6 main operational areas, including counter-terrorism, road safety, and serious crime prevention. Though Cyprus isn't seen as a primary terrorist target, authorities warn against complacency due to regional instability and nearby military bases. The strategy highlights intelligence gathering, monitoring suspected foreign nationals, and protecting infrastructure. On border security, the plan emphasizes managing migration flows, policing crossing points, and maritime security to strengthen national safety. ExxonMobil and Qatar Energy have announced a major natural gas discovery off Cyprus, boosting hopes for new export routes to Europe. The Pegasus-1 well, located 190 kilometers southwest of Cyprus, lies under nearly 2,000 meters of water. While exact volumes aren't yet confirmed, Cyprus officials say further assessments will follow. This marks the 6th major gas find in Cyprus' exclusive economic zone in 14 years, including the Aphrodite and Glaucus fields. The discovery strengthens efforts to reduce Europe's reliance on Russian energy, with analysts calling for support from the US and EU to accelerate development. Lebanese President Joseph Aoun will visit Cyprus on Wednesday for talks with President Nikos Christodoulides, focused on regional and bilateral issues. Government spokesperson Konstantinos Letimobiotis and Christodoulides will receive Aoun at the presidential palace for a private meeting, followed by expanded talks between their delegations. Discussions will cover the Eastern Mediterranean, Middle East developments, the Cyprus issue, and EU-Lebanon ties. Both leaders will then address the media and visit Nicosia's ceasefire line before attending a luncheon at the palace. Aoun is set to depart Cyprus later this same day. Cyprus has started accepting applications for the EU Blue Card, allowing highly qualified workers from outside the EU to live and work in the country. The Deputy Migration Ministry says the Blue Card targets highly skilled non-EU workers in fields like ICT, pharmaceutical research, and shipping. Applicants must have a minimum gross annual salary of €43,632 and a valid job offer or contract. Cardholders can enjoy equal treatment with Cypriot citizens, family reunification rights, and the possibility to work elsewhere in the EU, excluding Denmark and Ireland. The scheme aims to attract top talent and strengthen the local workforce. The UN Secretary-General's envoy for Cyprus, Maria Angela Holguin, voiced optimism after talks with President Nikos Christodoulides and Turkish Cypriot leader Ersin Tatar. Holguin said discussions focused on achieving concrete progress next week, with further meetings planned with negotiator this week. She hinted at possible new measures, including the potential opening of a new crossing point. An informal meeting in New York on July 16th and 17th will continue the dialogue, aiming to build on progress made since March. Cyprus and Egypt are strengthening a decades-old partnership, deepening ties in trade, energy, education, and security. As Cyprus expands its global diplomatic role, it positions itself as a vital bridge, linking Europe with the Middle East and North Africa.
The Republic of Cyprus and the Arab Republic of Egypt share a long-standing strategic partnership rooted in shared Mediterranean geography, mutual economic interests, and a common vision for regional stability. Over recent years, this partnership has deepened significantly, expanding across energy, defense, education, and diplomacy. In 2024, bilateral trade between the two nations reached $327 million, reflecting growing commercial ties and mutual investment. This economic cooperation has been reinforced by a series of landmark agreements, including a memorandum of understanding to develop Cyprus's Aphrodite gas field and export natural gas to Egypt for liquefaction and onward delivery to European markets. Energy ministers from both countries have hailed the deal as a vital contribution to Eastern Mediterranean energy security and EU diversification strategies. Beyond trade, Cyprus and Egypt have intensified collaboration in higher education and research, with agreements to facilitate academic exchange and joint innovation programs. Diplomatic visits have also reaffirmed a shared commitment to regional security, counter-terrorism, and joint military training. Cyprus plays a proactive diplomatic role not only in the Eastern Mediterranean but also on the global stage. It continues to support a rules-based international order, advocating for peace through multilateralism. In multilateral forums, Cyprus maintains a strong voice in supporting the two-state solution for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and actively engages with Greece and Egypt in trilateral mechanisms to coordinate on energy exports, climate policy, and diaspora cooperation. Amid escalating regional tensions, both Cairo and Nicosia have repeatedly called for restraint, dialogue, and legal frameworks to govern resource sharing in the Mediterranean. In all of these areas, Cyprus has positioned itself as a bridge between Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa, a state with a strategic outlook committed to peace, sustainable development, and cooperative diplomacy.
Cyprus ambassador to Egypt, Her Excellency Polly Ioannou, leads a dynamic diplomatic mission, strengthening regional ties and advancing strategic partnership across Africa and the Mediterranean. This overview highlights her key milestones and impactful initiatives. As regional alliances evolve and the Eastern Mediterranean gains increasing geopolitical significance, Cyprus stands out as a pivotal bridge between Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. With its long-standing diplomatic ties, active engagement in regional security, and commitment to fostering cooperation on economic, energy, and cultural fronts, Cyprus continues to play a crucial role on the international stage. To discuss the Cypriot vision for regional stability, its partnership with Egypt, and broader European dynamics, we're joined by Her Excellency Polly Ioannou, the Ambassador of Cyprus to Egypt, for an in-depth conversation. I'll now hand you over to my colleague, Ronald Assas. Rana.
Thank you so much, Hani, and we have the privilege of speaking with a distinguished diplomat who represents a country at the crossroads of Europe and the Middle East, a nation known for its strategic vision, deep-rooted cultural ties, and steadfast commitment to regional stability. Cyprus has long played a vital role in fostering dialogue, advancing cooperation and building bridges across the Mediterranean and beyond. Joining us now is Her Excellency Polly Ioannou, Ambassador of Cyprus to Egypt, to discuss her country's evolving regional role, its strong partnership with Egypt, and its vision for the future of the wider Mediterranean region. Your Excellency, thank you very much for being with us tonight on Qnews, and it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you very much, Joanna. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's our utmost pleasure. We start off, of course, with asking you, Your Excellency, of course, Egypt and Cyprus share a very unique historical and cultural bond across the Mediterranean. How do you see this relationship evolving in today's rapidly changing geopolitical landscape?
Well, I'm happy to say that this excellent partnership is one of the stable things we see in this region. I like to say that Cyprus and Egypt are islands of stability in a sea of instability at the moment. And despite the changing landscape, I'm very happy to see that one of the constants that doesn't change is the excellent relations and the very strong partnership that Egypt and Cyprus have, which can serve as an example for partnerships across the region.
Great. In recent years, we've witnessed heightened tensions in the Eastern Mediterranean. How do Egypt and Cyprus coordinate to ensure maritime security and stability in the region?
Well, Cyprus and Egypt have always worked very well on the basis of international law, mutual respect and sovereign equality to cooperate amongst each other in the space of the Eastern Mediterranean. Egypt was the first country with which Cyprus delimited its maritime borders. Energy security amongst the two countries flourished after that. We have exemplary military cooperation and other exchanges that allow us to monitor the security situation, to cooperate in the security sector in a way that serves the common objective of both countries, which is to see peace and stability in our region, both the Eastern Mediterranean and the broader Middle East.
Perfect. The trilateral cooperation between Egypt, Cyprus and Greece has been described as a strategic alliance. What concrete outcomes have emerged from this framework so far, and what future initiatives will be your priority as Cyprus, of course?
Mm-hmm. Well, for us, the most important aspect of this cooperation, if you like, is a security-centered one. Of course, it's a cooperation that spans a lot of areas, and we have seen concrete outcomes in a number of fields. But for us, being a country with a very strategic position that has been both a blessing but also a curse historically in terms of our security, we see this very much strategic, as you said, partnership to be vital for the security of all three countries. And if I could point to the biggest concrete achievement of this partnership, it would be precisely that.
Perfect. With conflicts in the Middle East affecting migration and security, how are Egypt and Cyprus collaborating to address irregular migration and human trafficking across the Mediterranean routes?
Well, first of all, let me say that the biggest problems we've had as Cyprus in terms of irregular migration have been from the east towards Cyprus and not from Egypt. So we haven't faced any particular problems in that respect. There's a rather elaborate framework of cooperation between the European Union and Egypt in terms of irregular migration. Egypt, of course, is very skillful in preventing any illegal migration from Egyptian shores. But as we know, there is a lot of instability in the Sahel, and migrants do find other routes to make their way to Europe. I mean, we do have the cooperation that is required for monitoring this, or for returns that might be in order. But again, we don't face any particular problems in that field between Cyprus and Egypt.
Cyprus has played a critical logistical and diplomatic role in establishing the maritime corridor to Gaza. What were the main challenges Cyprus faced in coordinating this effort, and how may they be overcome?
We faced a number of significant challenges, I would say. A lot of them logistical, and a lot of them having to do with the access of this humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip. But all of this have been overcome, so the corridor has functioned as a reliable route of sending humanitarian aid into the Strip, and it continues to function. So it continues to be available to the international community when circumstances allow for aid to access Gaza. And we've always said that this maritime corridor acts as a complementary route to land corridors, where the bulk of the aid is going into to Gaza, and primarily, of course, through Rafah. So through Egypt.
Wow.
So when those land borders are able to function again, of course, the biggest volume of aid we expect will go through that route. But this maritime corridor is there at the disposal of the international community to use as an additional means of providing aid, if you like.
Okay, this brings us to the next question, which, given the scale of Gaza's humanitarian needs, does Cyprus foresee this maritime corridor becoming a permanent or seasonal mechanism beyond the immediate crisis? How is Cyprus planning for its long-term sustainability?
I think it can be sustainable if it's useful. And right now it's useful because we have a conflict and we have a humanitarian crisis. In the future, it might be relevant because humanitarian aid is still needed, or because it's needed for reconstruction. But I think we don't need to put the cart before the horse. When we see the needs in the future, we will cross that bridge when we come to it. But the important thing for now is to alleviate the humanitarian crisis.
Okay. Beyond immediate aid, Cyprus has long supported a two-state solution. How does this maritime initiative fit into Cyprus's broader vision of supporting Palestinian rights and the future of Gaza's reconstruction?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say that the humanitarian track is always a separate one in every conflict and should be insulated. So it's a standalone necessity that we need to address the humanitarian situation that we have before us at any given time. Then there is another track, which is the political track, and as you said very rightly, Cyprus has always supported the two-state solution and the UN parameters for the settlement of the Israel-Palestine conflict. We think that without a viable settlement to this conflict, the conflict cycle will recur every few years, and that is not a viable situation for any of us in the region. So I would say, coming back to the corridor, that this was very clearly a humanitarian measure. And in terms of the political settlement, we need to revitalize the Middle East peace process and to discuss all those core issues that will lead us to the two-state settlement.
The Eastern Mediterranean is increasingly viewed as a corridor for both energy and digital connectivity. Are there discussions between Cyprus and Egypt on joint digital infrastructure projects such as undersea data cables or smart port initiatives?
Mm-hmm. Well, we've focused so far more on the energy pillar, I would say, on how to share infrastructure, and on because we do have a lot of cooperation in the energy sector. You might recall that in this past February we signed 2 agreements for the development of 2 fields, gas fields in Cyprus, and one of them stipulates using Egyptian infrastructure for the development of a Cypriot gas field. So for us, this is part of the exemplary cooperation we have, and if you like, we are focusing on this because it's a priority sector before we come to other sectors like data, which are not where cooperation is not quite as developed or has not proven as necessary yet as the energy cooperation.
So you're going to move on to the data. You've not started yet, the data cables.
It's on the table along with, I mean, there isn't, in terms of Cyprus-Egypt relations, there isn't anything that is off the table, if you like. So all areas of cooperation are something that we would like to develop. But of course, you need to prioritize at any given moment. It's not possible to have, too many things running at the same time, especially for a small country like mine, which has, certain limited capacities to work on too many projects at the same time.
Small, but has great impact.
Thank you.
How does Cyprus view the recent escalation between Israel and Iran?
Well, for us, we have always been very clear that we do not like conflict and we do not like instability. So anything that threatens peace in one part of our broader region threatens it in our entire region. I mean, the Middle East has always been a restive region, but I think in the past couple of years, even by Middle East standards, we have seen more conflict and instability than any of us would like, and more than the region can handle. We don't think there's solutions to any political problem with military means. And we have actually, since the Second World War, constructed an entire system, an entire international order that aims to settle conflicts and disputes via peaceful means. And this is a system that we need to respect and to preserve with all our might.
Then they have to respect and preserve.
Everyone does. Once the rules are broken once, then the whole system falls apart. So it's not a selective menu. All of us need to observe all the rules.
Exactly. We move on to energy and economic cooperation, of course, which is top of the agenda between Egypt and Cyprus. Energy has become a central pillar of Cyprus-Egypt relations, especially with offshore gas discoveries. How do you envision energy cooperation reshaping the two countries' economic and strategic future?
I think the strategic relationship was there even before the energy sector or before the energy prospects started to emerge, quite simply because the security of both our countries is so interconnected that it cannot but lead to having a strategic association between the two. In the past few years, Cyprus has progressed with its energy program. Cyprus is not is not a traditional oil and gas producer as Egypt is. We have much less experience in this field, and of course, not just Cyprus, but all of us as countries also depend to a large extent on the international companies that work to develop these fields. But I think we have accelerated this cooperation. I mentioned the two agreements that we signed in February. So we are working to see concrete results and to monetize these fields, if you like, as quickly as possible. And this cannot but reinforce the relationship that we already have. But as I said, it's not the Egypt-Cyprus relationship is not based on opportunity. It's not because we have gas fields close to one another and we can cooperate in this respect that this shapes our relationship. Our relationship goes well beyond that.
Yes. If you could describe the Cyprus-Egypt relationship in one word today, what would it be and why?
I would be between unbreakable and indispensable.
Unbreakable and indispensable.
Yes, so that's two words instead of one. But Rana, maybe you will allow me to.
Of course, you have all
to double down on answering your question.
And they're two really heartfelt words, which we really respect. And
I think
why?
They're all encompassing.
Unbreakable and indispensable. Why?
I think unbreakable because they have formed and they have solidified over thousands of years. So it's not a new bond, and it's not something that fluctuates. It's something that has been very steady. So I would like to think of it as unbreakable, and then indispensable goes back to something I said a moment ago, which is that it is absolutely essential for our countries to maintain peace and stability, not just between them, but in their broader region.
The region, yeah. Your Excellency, of course, we thank you very much for sharing your insights and for this thoughtful, engaging conversation. We greatly appreciate your time and perspective in these critical regional issues and on Cyprus's vision for cooperation and stability. We wish you continued success in your diplomatic mission here in Egypt and across the region, and we know very well you're very successful and you've done a lot actually between Egypt and Cyprus in your role, Your Excellency, and of course we really appreciate again and thank you once again for being with us tonight. We now move on to Hani Saif in our newsroom. Hani.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you, Rana. Ladies and gentlemen, a heavy silence hangs over Gaza tonight as airstrikes echo and lives are torn apart. Let's take a closer look at the devastating scenes unfolding on the ground. Gaza's health authorities say the death toll has climbed to 57,523 since the war began last October, with over 136,000 injured since Israel resumed its military operations on March 18th. Following a brief ceasefire, nearly 7,000 Palestinians have been killed and over 25,000 injured. In the past 24 hours alone, hospitals received at least 105 bodies and 56 injured as strikes continued across the enclave. Pro-Palestinian demonstrators rallied outside the White House, urging an end to the Gaza war as Trump met Netanyahu. Protesters called for a ceasefire and criticized U.S. support for Israel, with some saying taxpayer money should not fund the conflict. The demonstration coincided with President Trump's meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu to discuss a possible Gaza ceasefire and detainees release deal. Trump predicted a breakthrough could happen this week, while Netanyahu said talks with Trump could push forward in direct negotiations with Hamas in Qatar. And Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu told President Trump he nominated him for the Nobel Peace Prize during their White House meeting. Netanyahu handed Trump a nomination letter and said the U.S. and Israel are working with other nations to offer Palestinians what he called a better future, including the option to leave Gaza. He suggested some countries were close to accepting Palestinian residents. Netanyahu's comments came as the leaders discussed efforts for a Gaza ceasefire and regional stability over dinner in Washington. This concludes our news bulletin for this hour, but please don't forget to follow Q News on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram and TikTok at Q News EGY to stay informed. I'm Henny Saif. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more updates coming up here on Q News.